this workshop will be conducted by our President, Comrade Tapan. So without wasting any more time, I will request Comrade Amil to start the workshop and conduct the business accordingly. Thank you, comrades.
So comrades, we are starting our session. As already reported, we are now around 10 minutes late today. At 11:30 we have to start the meeting. Now it is because of us only. Because Tapan Sen, you all know, our comrade, he was here already at 11:30. We had a small tea break, that's only this time we have lost. Anyhow, as you all know, today there will be 3 sessions. One will be this session, the topic is challenges before working class and our role. The second session, it will begin at 3 o'clock, and that topic, role of corporate media in our country. And last session today will be at 5:30 p.m. regarding means of communism. And first of all, on behalf of Bank Employees Federation of India, on behalf of all the comrades present here, I welcome Comrade Tapan Sen to this our trade union workshop, and I request our Secretary, Comrade to kindly give him a bouquet. Yes, I know that there is no need of introduction. As far as Tapan Sen, you all know, so I am not saying anything about that. I request Comrade Tapan Sen, General Secretary of CITU, to have our first session. Yes, Comrade. Okay.
First of all, comrade, welcome to PR Bhavan. In that respect, you are all CITU's guests. We made this building after the name of our founder president, Comrade P. Ramamurthy, only for the purpose of trade union education and research. This setup was built up, as you know, the staying arrangement and this meeting hall. And this is also the house of 2 federations also. They are running their center from here. One is Electricity Employees Federation and another is All India Road Transport Employees Federation. They are also running their office from here. So this is the complex here. We built up only for this purpose. After commissioning this building, in which bank employees movement also have some contribution, I think. We have also made some contribution. Absolutely, that's money this was built. This is number 1. Number 2, after its commissioning, then COVID came. We could not make use fully of this facility that way. After that, gradually the program started taking place. Now, so in that sense, welcome to CITU, this center. Secondly, today's subject, challenges before the working class and our role. Now, we are all leaders of the bank employees movement. You are already confronting so many issues before you. And that gives you an outline of the issues you are facing. Important is to characterize the issues you are facing, linking with the overall economic setup, economic policy design that is being thrust on you. It is crucial for a trade union activist, a working class activist. It is not merely trade union. Their subject is challenges before the working class. If we identify us as a class, we have to try to understand the issues being faced by us in the overall perspective. It is just not an issue of a particular bank or the banking system as a whole. It is organically linked with the whole economic policy management structure, direction of that policy. It is integrally linked with that. Number 1. Number 2, it does not stop at one particular point. It is constantly, consistently changing. That dynamism has to be understood. And third is its impact on the political system and its impact on the society. These are the three components of the challenges. In this context, we have to understand, evaluate the challenges being faced by us. That is crucial in it is a workshop, so I am just going in a different structure. And today, for elaborating the challenges, the whole thing cannot be dealt in the given time frame. So what I will try to present is just an outline of the thing, and thereafter it is your task. Many of things you are already aware, but after this, that should create a provocation at least, and then only I think the whole success of the whole exercise, that it must create a provocation in every one of you to further inquiry, to explore your own workplace and overall economic structure, the development, link it with that, and try to understand or really define the challenge. And another crucial important element of that, which you have to, I think we should all understand as an activist of the working class movement, that is dynamism. It does not stand in one place. Continuously changing. And while changing, it is bringing new challenges. This whole process needs to be understood only just because we are with a particular task before the present situation. To combat and defend the class, defend its rights, with a greater perspective of defending the people, the rights of the people, their livelihood and other things. Because again, the working class cannot emulate themselves or cannot combat effectively the attacks and liberate themselves from exploitation without liberating the entire mankind, entire society from exploitation. Working class can never be able to only liberate itself. That is also a crucial component in our issues we are dealing with, subjects we are dealing with. That is also a crucial part of that. That also need to be understood. So, to put it more simpler way, it is just not banking employees movement. To understand the attack on the banking sector and its employees. That problem has to be understood with the overall economic structure. This is number one. Number one. Two, the overall economic structure, the direction it is going, it is just not an economic decision alone. It's a political decision. In every economic system, political system, the economy policy direction is in the interest of the class which are dominating the whole political governance. Is integral. Without that, one cannot just think out any system. For the interest of a particular class, the economic policy is being diverted, is being designed and directed. And our task in between to combat it, to fight it out constantly, with some success, with some failure. We cannot completely erase all the elements of attack. But definitely, to some extent, we can resist and get some rights also. Very recently, you got your wages sorted out. You got something, but definitely you have not got everything. It's a partial thing. It is a continuous process. Whatever you got, it is no less important today. But at the same time, that is not the all. Because the gain you have made, it will not stay with you in the economic process itself. In the simultaneous explosion of the economy towards a greater inflation and simultaneously with further slowing down of the economy, squeezing the market, all taken together, that gain will not remain with you. It will evaporate. So that's a continuous process, and understanding this dynamism is crucial for the working class movement to go in the desired direction. And that direction must be in the process of these temporary gains, initial gains, sometimes no gain, only fight. This is the process by which finally my aim is to liberate the people as a whole from this exploitation, from this appropriation of surplus created out of my own labor, both physical and intellectual labor. You are in the service sector. In your case, it is more of an intellectual labor. So out of that, whatever surplus generated, it is being cornered by somebody else to go out of this phenomena. And the alternative is a society which creates by its own physical and intellectual capability, productivity, the wealth that will be the property of the entire society for the entire mankind. We want to switch over to that a system by eliminating that system, and for that, at every stage, we have to battle. That is precisely the working class strategy. The battle never over unless the situation is changed. Just go through the strategy here in given. Our great teachers of the working class, it is said. A number of such quotations we will be finding which are quite relevant. All the issues we have very consciously collected and put it here because it is a center of education. Just to present before you the overall perspective with which we must look into our today's challenge, tomorrow's challenge, have a forecast about day after tomorrow's challenge, and in that direction we put our organization in readiness. And a crucial point of that keeping our organization in readiness is to constantly update the level of consciousness, to understand level of our intellectual capability, to understand the whole dynamic of the attacks in the midst of this policy structure. Now, comrade, without going too much back in the history, we are working in a capitalist system. That system's basic task is to appropriate surplus. These are the basic issues, both in services and in production. Those are creating that wealth, serving at the grassroots level, keeping the economic machinery on by their hard toil. They create values. What is value creation? Again, it is a 2, 3, 4. If I go into the manufacturing, it is a combination of 2, 3, 4 items, raw materials, machinery, all taken together. Say 5 items. It gives rise, produces a 6th item, whose value is more than all these 5 items together, which includes labor also, which includes raw materials, all taken together. It produces a 6th item, which is a bigger value, which gives you, which has got a value, and that additional value created only a small part of it is shared with those who creates it. Now here again two basic issues to be understood in brief. Just quickly through, you have to read subsequently. Now, how this extra value is created? Because of the labor that has been put by the working class. In any factory, some machineries are there, some product is there, some raw material is there. If we just put it in the factory shed, can it create the value automatically? No. Unless human being is added to it. So, the additional value that is created, it is the solely contribution of the labor. But his ownership goes to the owner of the whole factory, who claims to have invested, so I got the return. Sometimes we also get diverted by this argument. Yes, he has put so much money, so he needs return. His return is already calculated before the profit is calculated, whenever arrived at. The investment he has made, the minimum rate of return he calculates while calculating his cost of labor, cost of production. The prices of raw material it has purchased from the market, his cost is taken into account. Prices of instruments are also taken into account. And then the additional value created, which can be sold in the market, minus that, cost minus that, is the profit. Who creates the profit? Had there been no labor added to it, the value would not have been created, and so the labor is the owner of that profit. Because you have already calculated the investment you made, value of the investment you made in your cost of production. That is how the costing is made. So, that side, I think the basic issue of how the economy operates into the capitalist system, it starts with unjust appropriation of the value created by me in private interest. And in the capitalist system, when value creating process, the labor joins itself, it joins in a socialized manner. So the socialized production process, but appropriation of his gain by the individual. Here lies the unjustness of the whole system. And since it starts with an unjustness process, to sustain it, further and further process of unjust aspects has to be entered into. So the economic policy design evolution of it goes in that direction towards greater illegitimacy and unjustness. And against that, the history says that the working class combats, battles continuously. But in that continuous battle, sometimes you gain also. So you, at best, you can slow down the process of the movement in unjust direction. But the direction continues in the same direction, changes. And finally, in that process, the working class come to the realization collectively that unless the very direction is not reversed, we cannot change the system. And that realization of that necessity, when it collectively comes, then a revolutionary situation erupts by which the system could be changed. This is how the dynamics of the entire system, which involves economy, which involves political system, which involves the society as a whole. When we stress for collective social consciousness, how the society is being governed, that also become a very important factor. And sometimes the working class focusedly look into that aspect also and have serious study to develop its own strategy how to combat it. So it is economy, political system, society. All the three are organic component of the canvas which we have to look into. We have to understand linking with one another and then go ahead collectively. And it necessitates that you cannot remain within your own bank, your initiative. It must be bank as a whole. Second grade of realization, it cannot be bank as a whole, the entire financial sector. And third aspect of the component is, it cannot be financial sector as a whole, it is the whole economy together, because what is bloody financial sector is blue if the production system is not there. You are servicing the production sector. This is a comprehensiveness when we look into the economy. And that's why it is just not one bank, it is Bank Employees Federation, national level. It is just not Bank Employees Federation, other financial sector institutions. And it is just not that, it is an overall integration with the working class movement at a national level with a clear perspective and understanding. And that's why we CITU and BEFI are working together. It is because of that, premised on that understanding. This comprehensiveness is also an important component which you must put in our consciousness, ingrain it, to develop, to process our analytical tools in understanding an issue comprehensively. And similarly, to carry on this unjust system, the governance must be in the favor of who are promoting unjustness, the exploitative system. So in a given system, situation, the state, organ of state, serves the interest of the exploiting class and tunes and retunes its policies in that direction to protect them. You may say, then why this law has come up which has given me my right? That is also a part of history. It is the same process at your industry level, you fought and got your wage revision. At a social level, country level, the national level, similar battle has given rise to this labor laws, which defines some of your rights. It has not come automatically. At an initial stage when the capitalist system started its production, the ruling class, the capitalist class, on their own interest framed certain laws. And if you go through its primary stage, you will see that at that material time, the law was framed in such a manner that even if you want to leave your workplace, you cannot leave. There was an embargo on that. And I am telling you at a very initial stage, because that time the crisis was to get people for production. And in that process, they could drag people from the village economy to the urban economy for joining them in production. At initial stage, law was tuned in that direction. The ruling class always tunes the law in the interest of his own exploitation. Subsequently, situation changes. There are more labor waiting at the door of the factories than the number of places of work is there. Or similarly, your banking institution. And that's why Marx, before capitalism came to that kind of a mature system, Marx told well in advance analyzing the tendency, the direction the economy operates, that capitalism always requires a huge reserve army of unemployed for its running its own system. Because with that huge army of labor, army of unemployed, the very existence helps him in bargaining with his labor on their wages. To suppress their wages, it helps them. But still in that process, certain laws came up on which it defines to some extent your rights, protects to some extent your rights. And even if you go through the history of those laws, that is the social, political, economic development prior to coming up with that laws. Or in a particular piece of law, certain important clauses which defines your right in a better way. If you go through the history on each and every law, you will find in history that there was a battle of the working class. The right you got, first working class asserts that right in the battleground. And thereafter those rights were socially recognized, politically recognized as a piece of law. Each and every right we have gained. Right from your right to working hour, right to strike, right to social security. Again, this whole history says that in every case the working class we did not wait for the law, they asserted their rights, that we want this. That is how the story of May Day came up. 8 hours working, 8 hours rest, 8 hours recreation. And it through a grim battle and so many sacrifices, the first ever, when ILO came into being, International Labour Organization, the first ever convention fit was the working hour. In the same manner, your right to strike came up in the process of right to collective bargaining and right to freedom of association. At international level, it got an international recognition. But behind that international recognition, the centuries-long bitter battle, tremendous sacrifice, compelled the society to recognize their right. So at every stage, whatever in positive term we gain our rights, that was the product of a bitter class battle and tremendous sacrifices by which it developed. And at different point of time in the overall history, the situation comes where the capitalist class has to compromise, have to make a retreat. And in that process, they recognize those rights of the people. And here another formulation comes, that capitalist class itself, why they has to make a compromise? Because it is a crisis-prone system. It creates exploitation by which it reduces the purchasers in the market. Capitalism survives on the market by its own exploitative system. They reduce the purchasing power of the consumer, greater number of consumers in the society. It faces a slowdown. It faces the problem of serious capacity utilization. That's crisis. That crisis from the birth of capitalism came many a times. And one of the crises, I may think it has become an important part of history, which compelled capitalism to retreat. That's why John Maynard Keynes came out. They told if you have to survive capitalism, sustain capitalism, the state has to invest in economy. Otherwise, prior to that, the capitalist philosophy, that state has got no role in economy, it will be completely driven by the market. And the important time of that reform in capitalism, there is a serious political implication. The correlation of forces, globe change, post-Second World War, or around the period in and around Second World War, fascism was defeated, rise of the socialist empire in Soviet Union, it created an ambience globally. And that time the severe crisis, John Maynard Keynes was not a communist or a socialist economist, he's a capitalist economist. He told for survival of capitalism, this compromise is required. And then a new generation, new regime in capitalism started, which is being told in retrospect the golden period of capitalism, where it came out of crisis and it expanded in a very big way, not only everywhere, globally. Industrialization in the newly liberated country, it has unleashed a tremendous force of bigger value generation, value creation. Overall, rights of the people were expanded. The very concept of social welfare state came into being, where it is philosophized that as a state, particularly in a democracy elected by the people, they have got some responsibility over its people on education, on healthcare, on basic social security. The whole concept of social fairism came in, and at the same time, it given the entire world a new democratic system, the universal adult franchise. The voting power made universal only after Second World War. See, in some country it existed, overall it never existed. Even in the advanced European countries, universal adult franchise, that is undiscriminatory voting power to all citizens, it came along with India. India got independence and entered into an era of universal adult franchise. Along with that, many European countries, advanced democracy, they are also, it was discriminatory. It became universalized. That is the contribution. In the midst of a crisis, if a counter force is developed, it can change. I think history must give us this, from this story, a single most confidence before working people, working class, that we can change if we can create that situation. That subjective situation, if we can change, the objective situation prevailing can lead us to change the system altogether. So, comrade, I think these are the background on which you have to analyze and evaluate present challenges. Quickly jumping into the thing, we will come into the process of neoliberalism. The period that called the golden period of capitalism, when it changed towards neoliberalism. That time philosophy is market is not the god, market is the factor in the capitalist process. Capitalism has to make a compromise with the social welfareism, with a dirigist regime. It made a compromise. Now thereafter, again the situation changed because of the correlation of class force also undergone a change. Collapse of Soviet Union. Capitalism thought we have become enemy free. And the neoliberalism came into being, where market has to decide, state has to withdraw from the economic operation of together it has got no role to play. Again, this is an overstatement. To put it in the right perspective, state was compelled to play some role in favor of the people. That was the political situation and that was the philosophy behind social welfare. Now the situation changed. State not only withdraws from the economy, rather it is more than that. State take its own political economic policy regime must be tuned much more brazenly in favor of capital. to increase their surplus, increase the pace of their surplus. That is what the change that taking place. I think that defines our present day challenge. Whatever challenge we are facing today, it is rooted in 1991, the paradigm shift in the economic process. Prior to that, what are the historical achievements you do have? You are all employees of nationalized bank, the bank nationalization, financial sector nationalization. Another important component was coal nationalization, and the minerals control has taken over in the hand of the state. These are important integral component of country's industrialization process. In private hand, it was creating embargo in the quicker industrialization of the Indian economy. You have adopted a policy regime in 1956 under pressure of Soviet Union, self-reliance and import substitution. That was the hallmark of the basic policy regime at the time of Nehru. And Soviet Union played an important role because Nehru, after moving around the world, nowhere he got support for its industrialization. It is in only the socialist countries, Soviet Union in particular, came forward in giving them the heavy engineering corporation first at Ranchi, then Bhilai steel plant in Chhattisgarh, Bokaro steel plant at Jharkhand. Bokaro came much after, but after Bhilai is given, then the Germany and England came forward, even giving India a steel plant almost during the same time at Durgapur and Rourkela. They saw a danger that if we don't come forward, such a big subcontinental size of the country will go out of our hand. And Indian capitalist was mature enough at that time, just came from the independent British regime, independent capitalist, with lot of aspiration. They understood that this bargaining with these two camps will make us better. In that process, it requires a political reform, economic reform. The whole engine was driven by the intervention of the working class movement at that time also. The demand for nationalization is popularized. And in that process, that historic events has taken place. Bank nationalization, financial insurance nationalization, coal nationalization. And it put on motion the development of the numerous public sector undertakings in the key and heavy sector of the economy, which played a multiplying effect in developing small, medium-scale industries in the private sector also. And it also created a big dynamism in the Indian agriculture, and country headed for the Green Revolution. The import substitution in the industrial sector, import substitution in the food grade sector. India got self-reliance in food production. That was the process during this golden period. Now neoliberalism sought to reverse that. Whatever we gained, now we have to make our fortune out of it. And that's how came, where this whole philosophy was supposed to be reversed. I think that point has to be understood in clear terms by today's trade union activists, because that was the beginning of a paradigm shift, not merely in economic policy, but both on the political governance and the societal governance. All taken together, it has to be understood comprehensively. And that defines today's challenge as a gradual development. The trade union movement from day one was understood the danger. And you may say that CITU as a pioneering force, under the great leadership of Comrade P.T. Rav, Comrade P.R. and others, the philosophical guidance, the task of the working class, that helped us in understanding the real danger before that. We pioneered the battle against neoliberalism. with your all support. That was the integral part of the basic orientation of the trade union movement at that time in the 70s onwards, where along with CITU, your bank employees movement, the segment, insurance employees movement, central government employees movement, state government employees movement, who are all with us, and many other independent movements. It played an important role in intervening against the direction of neoliberalism, to bring to the consciousness of the people that it is a dangerous path we will be taken towards. Now today Narasimha Rao was awarded Bharat Ratna. In your print media you will find number of articles. Oh, that poor man was neglected so long. And he was finally recognized after 33 years. He actually opened the new vista of Indian economy, which put it into a big growth trajectory, all these things. Continuously media will want to make us forget about the disastrous character of the neoliberalism. That is their role they play, because media are run by the corporate household. But the point is that, and there is a clear political content of Narasimha Rao awarded the Bharat Ratna. I rather feel so bad why poor Manmohan Singh is also left out. Because he is the main brainchild of the whole economic reform. Why that poor Manmohan Singh is left out? I am telling you particularly. Yeah? They want to bring it on your mind, the continuous relevance of neoliberalism, how it is beneficial to the country. But what we see during these 3 decades, the foundation on which Indian economy could come to that stage of bargaining with the international capital. We are regular bargainer at international forum with other imperialist capital that weakens its bargaining strength by weakening the public sector, weakening its forthright stand for import substitution with the acceptance of WTO, a critical surrender of Indian government on the new patent regime. Earlier we are governed by the process patent regime, now it is a product patent regime. And once a product is in the market, once patented means if you are to produce, you have to give them the royalty. No matter you produce it some other process, no matter. One after another, the surrender of these independent sovereign position on important political factors are all components of neoliberalism. It is just not liberalization, globalization, liberalization, privatization and globalization, LPG it was called, but it embraces the whole gamut on which the developing countries, after getting their independence, sought to make them establish in the entire global economy. Change the whole gamut. And that defines the further attack on the economy, and it multiplies every day. It was claimed by these philosophers, economists, that it will solve the country problem of development. It will unleash a tremendous developing force by which our capacity will increase like anything. That is what the whole philosophy that was done, and no doubt, let us be very fair to ourselves also. In the first decade, or first 1.5 decade, if you see, even our supporters are probably, why are you opposing that? New technologies are coming, new industries are coming, new things are coming, employment is expanding. Why are you opposing to that? It was a temporary phenomena. Finally, it will spoil into much more systemic crisis and slowdown. We could see it well in advance. And it took for the world to come to the understanding that it is a dangerous suicidal pipe so far as the people are concerned, not for the corporates. And that is what has happened. Initial euphoria has died down and the entire capital system entered into a terminal crisis. You see, 2000, 2007, 8 onwards in India, we started seeing the crisis, involving your banking system as well. For the Europe and other countries, that crisis period started a bit earlier, in the early 2000 itself. Number of bubbles was created and it ultimately burst. But they could survive imperialist forces by subjugating the developing countries, utilizing resource economy for its gain, using the WTO mechanism. And WTO mechanism, before that it was GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. The democratic component of that forum has got further changed by forcible subjugation of the developing countries by the imperialist countries. These are all quick political histories I am just reading about. You have to verify every statement, every sentence of it through your own reading. That is the trend by which now today you are landed in this situation. And in that sense, enter developing world. And which infected the developed world also, where there is a terminal globally. And its immediate implication, what it comes, and there you start identifying the challenges before you. That the quality of employment degenerates. The whole character of employment relations is being restructured to the extreme level where the employers and employee are not always clearly visible. Who is whose employee? That is the trend. That is the terrain. The whole employment relations are being put on track. That's the biggest challenge before us. And in banking sector, you are also, kindly keep your eyes open, you are seeing every day the changes. That's the challenge. And it does not come alone. Along with it comes the structural change in the production process itself. Earlier concept of Fordism on a single roof, entire production process is located. Gradually over the experience, capitalism changed its course. The same thing is being produced through different outsourced agents, and it is being compiled, assembled in a particular place. There was a change in that direction to the whole production planning by the capitalist order, towards more and more profit. Under the same roof, you have to maintain a minimum uniformity on service condition, employment relation, employment remuneration, etc. If it is decentralized through different outsourcing agencies, that helps in minimizing the labor cost. And that's the crucial issue. All other cost is given, defined by the market, whatever price other materials can be procured. Only flexible item is labor. The employees in that sense. The only flexible item, you have to minimize it towards that direction. And during this period, another two historical events has taken place. One is scientific and technological revolution. Technology has developed a big way. and another is information technology revolution, or IT sector, blue. That has added to the space of capitalist production process, has given a new space with a tremendous mobility. And in that process, the financial capital came to dominate over the productive capital, and particularly the information technology revolution has contributed to it. And gradually, as we define it today, what is neoliberalism? It is under the dominance, direction of international finance capital, the whole capitalist system is operating. And you bank people are the house of that finance capital. It is not merely your bank. Any other financial system, a bank is one of the important segments, which are the house of the finance capital. Nowadays, in big private corporates, in any new factory they invest, you will hardly find they have funded only 10% out of their own pocket. Rest of the 90% is your money, the money of the banking sector. A debate in a different forum we participated in the initial period of fight against neoliberalism. How much private is the private corporates? The whole capital invested through those segments, you will find the majority of it are coming from the financial systems as credit. Bank nationalization immediately opened the floodgate for flowing into the middle and small scale sector, because that time it is a nationalized bank have a clear direction of its economic policy prior to neoliberalism. And that's why small and middle scale industries flourished in a big way and became the second biggest employment provider in the economy after agriculture. Now the system has changed, and presently what is the scenario? The maximum closure is taken place in the small and middle sectors in a very big way. And your demonetization has flared it in a very big way thereafter. That's the reality today. And another contrast, I think you must study and expose that fact. The money that is being stolen from the bank, fortunately, does not belong to those small and middle class entities. They represent hardly less than 15% of the total, within bracket, non-performing assets of the banking system. Hardly 15%. They closed down. And many of them reopened as a proxy of some big corporates for their having the monopoly control over the whole production process. And that gave reflected. This perversion in the whole economic process has getting reflected in the political system, because political system is also being sought to be tuned in that direction, and so also the societal governance. It requires the anger that will be created by this process among the masses, because who are the most oppressed, most depressed, pushing towards destitution and poverty, that anger need to be dechannelized. So that's why this comprehensively understood that the economy management, political management, system management, and societal governance has to be completely authoritarianized in order to serve the interest of the corporation, which has given nowadays expressed in a very bad term, very obscene form, where the overall wealth creation by the economy is going down. Even World Bank has forecast in 2024, the global economic growth will go down to 2.9%, which is now hovering around 3.2%. The record number of unemployment globally, they have identified. Whatever Modi Sarkar ka guarantee every day speaks about, in reality the situation is altogether different. Globally, not only in our country. And that is also affecting all other segments of the economy, including your financial sector. Bound to happen. And this dynamism to be understood, and we have to develop our resistance, combative battle towards against that. That's the task before us. That is how the present day challenge is to be understood. It is no more a general crisis of capitalism, but systemic crisis. Earlier crisis, there was a cyclical pattern. It goes down, again it comes up. And coming up, always accompanied by retreat of capitalism from its philosophical classical position. Social welfareism, public sector, expansion of the state investment are all the signals where capitalism retreated. And so the crisis could be maneuvered to a period of boom, not less than around 2.5 to 3 decades. Thereafter, neoliberalism, accompanied by scientific and technological revolution and information technology revolution, speeded up their context, and those powers in the hand of the ruling class has made them emboldened in going much more aggressive, crushing down the components through which they got relief from capitalism, where crisis earlier, they left that, and that is what is the neoliberalism. Quick gain, creating a philosophical background globally that this will uncage the tiger of productivity from protection and control. So no protection, no control. Allow the capitalism market to function in its own way, and that will ensure a biggest efficiency in the economic system, and it will bring prosperity and growth for all. That was the philosophy. Within a decade, that philosophy's real face was tarnished, and we are landed with a situation of extreme perversion in economy. We must read it close between the lines. When even if you take our country, the year in which our GDP turns negative during the COVID period, in the same year, the big corporates could increase their wealth by 200 to 300%. How can it be possible? No additional wealth is created in the country. It means the benefit, the fortune they made by cutting out of your pocket, which you could not understand. In today's economic system, the corporates are giving free hand rebate in the direct taxes. I am not going into that aspect altogether. Always capitalists get a favor in the matter of direct taxes. But what about indirect taxes? In GST, the 10% of the richest population of the country are having a contribution of only 3%. Total GST calculation revenue is increasing. Whereas the below 50% of the population are contributing to the tune of 65%. What is GST? Tax on goods and services. And it's clear that they are manipulating the GST payment routed through the employers, producer. Some GST element payment are routed through the employers. Some payment, it goes directly by you and me. The part of the GST generation which is coming from directly from the people to government kitty, that contribution is 65%, and what is going through this, they are manipulating their contribution only 2%, 3%. That is a perversion. No more a normal economic logic. Even as per capitalist logic of capitalism, this cannot happen. Somebody is making a extra wealth, but did not make any investment. Again, another feature of perversion. How is it coming? Your national monetization pipeline. The infrastructure sector made by you and me are handed over them for operationalization. They operationalize and make the margin without making any investment. What is that? That is another process of perversion. And these perversions are being generated directly using the political power, and so the perversion in the political system, it needs to be authoritarianized. And so last 3 years, whatever law was passed by the parliament, none was deliberated or debated. Even during the period 2018, I was in parliament. At least I have not seen any bill, any law was passed without any debate. Never seen. But last 3-4 years, what is the trend? Your labor code was passed without any debate. Your agricultural laws, which ultimately has to be taken back, it was passed without any debate. Because of the brute majority they got in the parliament. And that majority has been given to them by you and me, none else. हिंदी में एक कहावत है भाई, अब आग खा जाओगे तो कोयला निकलेगा, गुलाब का फूल तो नहीं निकल सकता ना. That is what is happening. You and me. Present challenge is so. We have to understand the attack on the political system towards authoritarianization within the apparently democratic structure. That is, democratic structure is there. Again, we are going for general election 2024. Meantime, the Economic Election Commission appointment bill was passed and it was absolutely under the control of government. The judiciary, they have already bent them back. Some good judgment comes, like Bilkis Bano, people are again sent to jail. But you will not find a single issue which relates to the corporate class interest where you get a positive judgment from the judiciary. That you got in the 80s. That you got in the 80s, in the 70s. You got judgment. But over the period, neoliberalism has tuned down the entire judiciary also in that direction. These are the components toward moving to a fascistic direction. You need to change the political administration towards fascism if we are to promote this perversion in the economic process. And the popular sentence I always use, a popular example in all the meetings, and there is an unseen pipeline from the national exchequer to the corporate kitty through your banking system. One is rewriting of the loan. किसका पैसा कौन माफी देता है? आपका बाप का समझ रहा है. This is one, and another is through IBC process. Your writing off is not coming under writing off amount is altogether different. Behind that writing off amount, through insolvency bankruptcy procedure, on the average, latest account is telling hardly 27% of the loan portfolios handled through the insolvency bankruptcy procedure through NCLT, hardly 27% recovered, 73% is an haircut, and they criminally gave it a name of a haircut. It is a total loot and plunder. I made a comment while insolvency bankruptcy process came in the parliament in Rajya Sabha that you are opened the floodgate for pilferage from national exchequer by this process. Pilferage. And chairman told why it is a non-parliamentary, this is what cannot be kept, and I am making it a challenge. A pilferage word is anywhere found in the dictionary of unparliamentary word, that is still there. That is what is taking place. And Bole Baba par karega, both the ruling party and the ruling opposition, main opposition, both together they pass the law. A bigger perversion was legitimized by the democratic process. That is the basic trend today. And it is bringing forth the relevance or necessity that unless this force is not challenged politically, you cannot save anything. Finished. Unless it is challenged politically. So that's the challenge before us. It is defending an old right in the workplace. Along with that, that is the challenge, because even you cannot be able to defend your right at the workplace unless this political force is not challenged and combated. That's the real challenge before us. And that requires a much bigger canvas to be cultivated upon, not beyond your, not merely your employees, their family members together. We are marching with red flag. And during Ram Mandir consecration, घर में 5 दिया जला रहा है. ये दोनों contrast नहीं चल सकता है, if you will bluntly. Whosoever feel like or don't like it. You are promoting a inauguration of a mandir, but you stop telling that that mandir was made on the corpse of a masjid, and which is the biggest affront on the Places of Worship Act enacted just after our independence with a conscious political orientation defined by our constitution. Unity in diversity. We are a multinational country. And in a multinational, multilingual, multi-religion country, it is important to keep the country together, for which this is the certain do's and don'ts must be defined. And those do's and don'ts, one of the most critical law was the Places of Worship Act. But the Supreme Court itself changed it, ignores it. While telling that that was a crime committed while demolishing the Babri Masjid. But at the same time, on the spot of that crime committed, you can allow to make you. The judiciary was captured by the capitalists. You may say, bhai, where is capitalist? It is BJP has taken up. But capitalists allowed that to happen because they find they are most faithful servant of ours at this time of systemic crisis of capitalism. That way, the integration of the understanding of the both the things you have to take into account. And society is an important field where you need to cultivate division. Otherwise, anger of the people together will make you unsafe. That is their class interest with their moving, trying to create a polarization all out. And blur the vision of the people in identifying their real enemy. Unless these are linked with our understanding, who is the enemy will not. If we fail to stall this process, we'll be losing many things. which you could develop during last 75 years of independence, despite all limitations of the capitalist system. That's the challenge before us. And that challenge is also ingrained in the labor code because they understand that the only force that can develop a combat with an initiative, that is the working people's movement, working class movement, trade union movement. So labor code presided over a process which finally aims at creating an union-free workplace in the days to come. Kindly go through the composition, change of composition of your workforce in each bank, banking sector as a whole. The most easy switch over to officer, executive. That's the banking system basic profile, character. For a financial business that is required, that is their class need. But now, the number of non-executive is becoming squeezed and squeezed. There is already a big imbalance is created, not only banking, I am telling you, NTPC. Number of officers are much more than the number of workers. And number of contract workers is 3 times the number of workers. All three taken together, a non-unionized segment of the workforce are sought to be increased. Change in the employment relations are being researched by the capitalist class to bring that to be union states so that there can be an union-free workplace. And labor code provisions are presiding over the entire process. What is the task before us? To beat them to pieces. Are you in a position to beat them to pieces? Yes, it's possible. Just me tell you a very small event. In Karnataka, BJP government, labor code is not yet notified because of our struggle. They have taken up certain provisions from the law. In Karnataka, they started 8 to 12 hours work, allowing night work for the women. These changes, they notified, they passed it in the assembly, and they brought it into the public domain. On 23rd March, there was a complete united strike action by the industrial workers of around 1,200 factories, establishment, including numerous multinational companies. Complete strike. And they have given a notice saying that if you don't stop this, don't go into that, stop going into this process, then there will be indefinite strike. After the strike, unfortunately, BJP government has passed the law, but they could not notify. Before that, they have to go election. They tried to get more votes from the big corporates by passing that law. They could not notify, they did not get the time. After Congress government came into power, they notified it. They refused to learn the lesson. But that is the crucial truth, that those 1,200 companies, including multinational company, law is in their place, but they don't dare to think of reintroducing it again. Workers are hurt. So, what should be our response to labor code? Ultimately, you have to go to the level will not allow you to implement the labor code. And that force need to be generated by the ruling class, working class movement. And that is the challenge for us. And we could do that in many places. Wherever privatization moved in many factories were physically resisted by the workers. Those who came for due diligence, they were driven out from the premise of the factory and taken to a place telling that if you come back again, we'll break your legs publicly. And finally, government has to abandon privatization of that company very nearby a company, CEL, Central Electronics Limited, near Delhi. They abandoned. The Salem steel plant in Tamil Nadu, those physical thrust was given to the Jindal team who came in for inspection of the factory, physically driven out. Thereafter, a number of efforts are made, workers are physically driven out from the factory, and ultimately that privatization was abandoned. In many other places this is taking place. BPCA is another. It has ONGC has taken over that. From ONGC it was sought to be separately sold, and it was finally abandoned because of the resistance of the people. There are examples. That is how the challenge has to be abandoned, faced by us, where they are completely a perverted management in the economic place is reflecting in the perversion in the management of the political system through greater authoritization towards a fascistic direction. And at the same time, at the society, they want to polarize the people, blur their vision of who is their real enemy. We have to challenge against that communal polarization process also. And these are not separated with one another. With the focused on the class interest of the corporate class in the midst of a systemic crisis, they are planning like that. And that got reflected in your banking system, which is targeted for privatization. Already again they renewed their dialogue on privatization, but meantime they brought an important instrument for privatizing a system by keeping the signboard intact, that is the national monetization pipeline. They are being experimented in now banking operation also. Many jobs are being outsourced, particularly information technology related work. The income tax department, the whole processing of the income tax returns are being done at Bangalore with a private technological IT agency, and finally it is coming to income tax department. Many of that job, without keeping the structure signboard intact, they found out a novel process of privatizing that. Even in that process, if you don't put an embargo, a physical embargo, will not be able to change the system. And in your employment profile, you have a serious study on it, and I think I have already told Comrade Devashish to make a study how the employment profile is changing. That will help us understanding the real gamut of the challenge for you. How it is changing. The regular number is going down. Many of the jobs are being outsourced, so altogether an employee of a different entity. And third, even your executives now are put on contract. Another new experiment. Unless this whole force could not be brought together in a single movement of defiance and resistance, we cannot meet the challenge effectively. And in that direction, we must dedicate ourselves. First, to organize the outsourced workers, casual workers, contract workers, mainstream that with our movement. It's a difficult job. It is a difficult job, no doubt of it. But we have to do. There is no option to do it like that. There is no other option before us. That must be our priority. To organize them, mainstream. And for that, initially the regular workers' employees movement who are still in place, they have to champion their requirements, their basic demands. If required, hold agitation. If required, go in for strike only on their demand. That narrative has to be, counter narrative has to be created by us to facilitate, organize them into mainstream, and that's not an impossible task. In Indian economic trade union scenario, many industries, they could develop an organized contract workers movement, and now they are getting return out of it. Very recently, I am telling you, in the extremely politically backward place like Noida, a multinational company making aviation equipment, Around 300 regular workers are there. Around 600 contract workers are there. The contract workers were dislodged, not allowed the gate pass to enter into the factory, on the plea that the order book, this has come down. The regular workers inside the factory started strike, continuous strike. But no, nobody can be dislodged. All you have to take. The bouncers were appointed by the employer to beat the union leaders, including outside leaders. CITU leaders, Gongeshwar was beaten to blue and arrested. But finally, management has to come to a settlement, agreeing the regularization of the contract worker in installment with a given time. Possible, not an impossible task. And here, regular workers started the strike for contract worker. Unless we raise our consciousness level to that level and generate that speed and dynamism in our organizational exercise, it will be difficult. And that's why this time CITU, from its All India Conference, 17th conference taken place in January last year, we decided that contract workers organizing is a priority today. If this is not understood, it will be a suicidal for all of us. Because the whole composition of the workforce are going towards their fragility. And in the meantime, the gig workers, the new form of app-based workers, are entering into the manufacturing process also. All taken together, they want to completely fragilize the employment relation. At one point of time when capitalists evolved, there was a complete fragile working class atmosphere, employment relation. The trade union movement all over the globe has defined their working condition. Again, in the systemic crisis, they are trying to take it in that direction because they understand politically that whatever resistance is possible, that will first be pioneered by the working class movement. And till now, against the economic process, whatever resistance that was initiated by the working class, they have that potential. The history has proven their potential in this regard. So, comrade, these are the challenges before us, where we have to understand both the three components of the challenges, where from the challenges are coming out, the whole economy management system, and to justify that perversion process, the political management system towards a greater authoritarianism, and also the societal system, where they want to divide the people, blur their vision about the real enemy. All that challenge together we have to understand comprehensively, working class, and has to develop their response. And in that direction, country's trade union movement, we have been able to carry them in that direction. The joint movement was developing. Last 10 years back, these political issues can never be talked about in the joint platform. Today the slogan is coming up that he is our enemy, we want their ouster. The joint movement of the workers, peasants format is now raising that slogan. They have gone forward based on this comprehensive understanding. In your industry, this comprehensive understanding need to be cultivated among the mass of the employees, educated employees, literate employees who are that way advantaged towards it, and then retune their consciousness in that direction. Definitely, I am sure, our history of working class movement develops that confidence among us, that whatever they are asking for, they will not be able to through, will be able to resist, will be able to say many things. And that's why the slogan of the trade union movement has now become save the nation and save the people. It is interlinked together, saving the society also from the extreme poisonous manifestation. So this is the challenge before us. Second course, you will be dealing with that communal issues. So this challenge has to be understood comprehensively. I think instead of going into different trajectory, I try to put before you the component and source of the challenges which is coming, linked with one another, and we have to understand this linkage and take this linkage to the consciousness of the common employees. I think right now that is the immediate challenge before us, particularly in the run-up to the parliament election. One single thing, just telling I conclude. Comrade, 22nd January, your consecration. Madness was created throughout. 26th January, within 4 days, the farmers and workers organized a tractor parade in the country. In 17 states, 1,45,000 people took part, giving a slogan, Jo Modi Hatao. Within 4 days it has happened. There are people who are usually cultivate concerns, भाई क्या हो गया, हम कितना पीछे चला गया, how much the society has backtracked. It's no case of lamenting. Keep away the lamenters from you, please. You cannot leave it like that. You cannot give a walkover. That is our class orientation and class task. This is what. And I am telling you, on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd February, in a place like Gujarat, the scheme workers has taken up certain program that chase your MPs in your constituency. Even a place like Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, massive mobilization of women workers took place with the same slogan, Modi Hatao. And on one of day was the budget day, union budget day, and that day they burned here, that they burned the effigy of both the budget and Modi. It is possible, comrade. If we can reach the people, it is possible. Problem lies with us that we are failing to reach. In that sense, every success of this criminal to make the criminalize the entire society, I think we have also share of our own failure organizationally and politically. Unless the challenges are understood in this premise, we will not be able to combat it, and I am sure it is possible for us to combat. Thank you. Question.
Yes, comrades. So now it is 1:10.
Yes, comrade, open to any clarification.
Yeah, I think they can give it in writing now.
Yes.
Yeah. Then 10 minutes. 10 minutes. There will be no break. You have to sit here. Any clarifications, any doubts, it can be given in writing. Please. Now it is 1:10.
Comrade, quite a good number of questions. And I think it is not possible to resolve all the questions that may come up even after I reply. It can raise to new questions. And it is good if it is. Because let us first understand, we are in an extremely dynamic system. The things are changing very fast. And it's quite natural the new question will arise. And if it does not arise, that's rather a matter of concern. That should be a matter of concern. Because you see the human beings, it is questioning spree, always trying to find the truth. That was the basic force behind civilizational revolution. The search for truth, search for solution. Now, with that context, one important aspect out of that I did not deal so much in, Comrade has rightly pointed out, the role of imperialism. I told you that how I mentioned while speaking that the overall global crises are being responded to. Number one, the big industrialized country facing a situation of serious underutilization in their capacity, they try to impose policies on the developing countries to promote a kind of deindustrialization. That is important. If you go through now the composition of the manufacturing sector in our country, you will find the result that manufacturing sector is going down. Their growth is not being maintained, rather going down. Whatever claim Modi guarantee made you, their own official record are telling that the manufacturing growth is going down. And the composition of the manufacturing sector is also undergoing a serious change. From a original equipment manufacturing, they are gradually converting into an assembly segment, where in some cases the final product will go back to the foreign country. They will sell the parts, and in some business model where the foreign players, producers can get a better return, if the product is sold from the Indian soil, they allow that also. Say, if it is exported, it can be exported at a much cheaper cost to American soil or a European soil, they allow that. In some case, it is not an uniform. In some case, the final product must be in that country. They can get the advantage of patent. In those cases, particularly the IT sector related component payment, they are promoting that model also. So the manufacturing is undergoing a serious transformation. All these are matter of important study, and many things are yet to unfold in this new regime of liberalization, a new paradigm shift. We call it a destructuring of the economic process, particularly for the developing countries. Such experiments are going on. And this is precisely led by the imperialism. Sometimes imperialism means we find there is war, bomb and others. Beyond that, imperialist operates. It is a bringing back colonial condition to the component of development in the developing country. That is also an imperialist thing. Besides that, they are going on their physical militarism and hegemonic thing. The new area of conflict is developing. Russia, Ukraine, now Israel, Palestine. And now that area is expanding, and the criminality of that. Basically, our political leaders don't use these hard words. But basically, being a trade union activist, we can't find any other appropriate word to describe the criminality. They are very conscious in expanding the area of conflict, and it is conflicting also in Middle East and other areas. And only in 1 year, USA, whose economy is also facing a serious conditions of slowdown due to inflation, they are trying to, only in 1 year, their revenue from the military equipment sale has increased by 49% in 1 year. That is 22-23. 23-24 figure is yet to come. And this period, further war expanded in a newer zone. And it will be, so that is one of the important components by which they are addressing the economic slowdown in their country. They are going to full capacity utilization of the product. Another important data is Israel is becoming a new partner for India. And Israel's military export, total last year, the 1/3 came to India only. And the exchange business of exchanges, Gautam Adani has got the contract control over a very big port in Israel. The interest trade-off and national interests are being compromised. And link with it, our ordnance factory networks are corporatized. They are divided into 7 different segments, and the synergy of the military production, which we have to effectively produce it, that got completely finished, dismantled. And finally, those items also will be importing in the days to come. In the same process, you have to take note of that the export of India is increasing. But the export increasing, and our leaders are getting a credit, particularly in the IT-related smartphone export. Last quarter, India, it has increased. But they are forgetting to count on that it is merely assembling here and then sending it back. Again, the final product, I am telling you. In some cases, final product is going there. The major part of his export, import content is so high that you don't gain anything by export. In the same year, your IT related export has increased by 40%. And same year, your IT related electronic import content has also increased almost by 35 or to 40%. Who will gain, who will lose? This kind of a purely a manufacturing country or a self-independent production system on many products ultimately is being sacrificed. That is imperialist, much more grassroots level expansion of hegemonism, utilizing its superior power, along with your wars and other things are there. Now, against that, there was a tremendous protest throughout the globe. Rather, there is reason to self-criticize us on Palestine solidarity issue. We failed to generate the kind of emotion that was required in our country. In many other countries, it is on a very high speed. Similarly, against the economy also, there are many major battles, America, including America. Working class are on the battle path. But at the same time, we must note, very last 1 year, the political changes that has taken place globally, it was all towards right-wing direction, extreme rightward shift. If we link it together, what is the conclusion? The betrayal of the so-called progressive. They are reconciling with neoliberalism, has created a void among the confidence of the people about the so-called center, left or social democrats. In fact, their betrayal is allowing the extreme right-wing forces to utilize the public discontent to gain political power. It was the task of the progressive social democratic force to link people's consciousness with the problem they are facing, their livelihood problem they are facing. But if yourself is reconciled with capitalism, neoliberalism, who can save you? In our country, again, only we have been raising against neoliberalism, demanding changes. We could convert it into the slogan of other trade unions also, including INTUC and HMS. They are now talking against contractualization, they are talking against gig economy, they are talking against the self-reliant development. They are talking against the corporate dominance on political governance. They are all now talking. That is the declaration we are preparing, they are signing it. It goes everybody's name. But yet the country's other political parties, non-left parties, are they anybody raising this issue? raising this issue in this context against privatization, against contractualization, against national monetization pipeline. So this is the dichotomy, and this also explains how the right-wing forces is raising their head in our countries also. So we have a long way to go, and addressing this dichotomy by asserting the class issues more forthrightly among the mass of the process, people can create a compulsion even among the bourgeois political force also to take a stand. During farmer struggle, 26 November it started, till 20th December, 2020 December, no political party of the non-left segment has raised their voice for it. No political party. But subsequently they came. Sharad Pawar has to sign a statement against that in support of farmer struggle, although the very policies are first conceived in the Sharad Pawar's laboratory while he was agricultural minister in the UPA 2 government. At that time we opposed. Subsequently, Modi has brought that. Initially he kept on. But subsequently they started telling under compulsion, because farmer struggle and the worker solidarity action throughout the country has created an atmosphere of compulsion. Ultimately, Rahul Gandhi started moving in tractors. Fine, welcome. And we have to create that compulsion. The radical class-oriented trade union movement has got that also a task, to create that compulsion, and that thing can only be done by carrying the issues in terms of its class explanation to the people as the main reason of their problem. So I think, and this also created a system, Comrade have told, that a kind of de-dollarization, the Ladai. Some of the countries, the sanction that was imposed by the USA or many countries, they have found out another route for trading in their own currency, local currency, and a different currency. The de-dollarization of the international trade also is a big challenge to US. And total external reserve in dollar has gone down by 50% during that period. So these are new phenomena, but yet we have to come to a conclusion that this de-dollarization can reach up to the level of destabilizing the US economy. That has not yet come. Till now, dollar economy enjoys better comfort zone despite their fiscal deficit is going beyond 4%, 5%. Till now. But this is a new possibility that is opened up. New combinations are taking place where China is going to be sidelined by USA, by all its international exercise. India is a close partner with USA in this matter, but even then China is expanding its relationship, both economic and political relationship, in the Middle East, in Iran, in Turkey, in South Africa. That region is expanding. Along with Russia, it developed a new pole of attraction. So all these are positive development, no doubt, but unless it is supported by a very strong class struggle, it cannot be taken to that direction. But then no doubt these are all positive development. Comrade has very correctly pointed out the thing. Comrade, one question came about the artificial intelligence. It's a new phenomenon. We also don't know much of it, but no doubt it is a danger. On one meeting, I came from the Bijwada, FMR Regional Council. There also a question was raised. that artificial intelligence, particularly on healthcare, can create a revolution in favor of people. I mean, any technology is always a revolution. But the question is that in whose control it is. Whatever technology has come, the technology was a product of the labor experience, as Marx told us. Through the process of operation of labor, there is experience, if scientifically summarized, a new technology develops. That is the basic reason. But under whose control that is their million-dollar question. And definitely, if it is with the ruling class, they utilize it for exploitation. Artificial intelligence is now become a most important instrument in minimizing the role of labor, minimizing the labor cost, contributing to unemployment. That does not mean that we are opposed to that technology, but we must be very conscious about the application of that technology against the unemployment and other things. Must be alert of that, and we have to strategize our work, our assertion, our bargaining in that direction. Simple. Workload is a very important component. In many industries now, collective bargaining are taking place. Workload is a very important component. Because the new technology is expanded its capacity. Just adjusting the speed of a generator, you can almost increase the workload by 30%. Those are the areas where our trade unions, comrades who are going for negotiation and bargaining must understand this dynamism and utilize that in bargaining, in collective bargaining, uniting the workers. That understanding of technology is of tremendous importance for that count also. In banking sector also, I think that is an important thing where changing the work pattern, technology is being utilized. Many of the job has already become superfluous. We have to find way and out to maintain the job content, not to allow them to evaporate or outsource. For that, more study is required, particularly after AI. We are also half educated on that. We are yet to understand the full impact of that. But till now, it is understood that to be a major thing. Comrade, one question has come, what will be the effect of then crowdfunding. Comrade, crowdfunding and other kind of finance generation, that cannot replace the credit that is required for productive purpose. It is for some help or some this or that, but that cannot replace. Crowdfunding in true sense of the term, if you say, it is for the generation, for capital generation. Crowdfunding is among the crowd, and crowd are poor and not rich enough to recommend you. And richer will not contribute to crowdfunding for somebody else's profit. So bank cannot be replaced by crowdfunding. Bank or any other financial institutions cannot be, at least that is what I understand. Comrade, yes, divide and rule, we will be hearing a session after that, post-lunch, against communalism. That is one part, polarize and divide and rule. Another interesting question has been brought on that, particularly on the language divide, north, south, Hindi, nationalism, yes. On that, our position is very clear. You cannot impose anything. Indian Constitution, they have clearly listed out the languages which are all official languages. No particular official language is there. during this period, since Hindi heartland is considered to be an easy playground for Modi's politics, they want to utilize that. We must consciously combat that, consciously handle that. At the same time, it should not create a divide among the working people speaking Hindi or speaking Tamil or speaking Malayalam. If that happens, then they are successful. We must be very conscious. And in an all India organization like ours, we should try to have perception on the working of all the languages, particularly our national level organizers. I could speak to you in Hindi. I am a Bengali fellow. I could have spoken to you in Hindi also, as Devashish told to speak in English, so I spoke. And without knowing, we cannot work in this part of the country. Going to people, convince them in their own mother tongue. So we must be very cautious. There is a multiplicity of language in our country. We are a multilingual country. Our position is that the language is recognized officially. Modi cannot impose Hindi as a medium to them, and we have to combat, but at the same time, remaining caution that there an ill feeling are not generated among the working community on that issue. That also you have to be very cautious. Where there are many unions fighting for the rights of the working class, and leader of one strong union betrays. Comrade, I understand the psychology of your question. Now, how could they continue as major union for such a long time? When you were born? BEFI? Right? Which year I have already? I think 1970s. 82 was. I remember the formation of BEFI and the rally in Wellington Square in the streets of Calcutta. Very big rally was there. Thereafter 82 and now 24. Somebody will continue to be major for such a long period. Will not ask yourself? And what is the history of the organization? All India organization that developed? Our comrades from the stronger areas used to roam around like a mad people, forgetting their, without bothering about their leave, their everything. Then only many All India movement was built up. The stronger people has a bigger direction, responsibility for. Did you do that? We must ask ourselves. Certain sectors developed through that process, in coal, in steel. Many militant movement has taken place, covering south and north. And nobody could remain a major for all the places, for all the time. It has happened, fortunately, till now has a left leaning of your major forces. But even this time, struggling last a couple of, more than a week, we could not make AIBA submit the strike notice for 26th of February. This is a reality. But at the same time, you have to take them together, carry them together. Till now, whatever general strike that took place in the country, at least these two major segments of bank unions did participate in the strike. The State Bank never goes on strike. They are and different philanthropists. There are many other banks, the officers organization, other organization, they did not join strike. But from 91 till 2023, all the strike was participated by at least BEFI and AIBA. That is the consistency is there. Comrade, we must understand during this part, after your question, that's why I bring this. The attack is not on your physique, but on your mind also. But on your mind also. And many of the middle class organizations are becoming a victim of attack on the mind. On many issues of movement, particularly when you need to take a strong class position. There are vacillations, dubiousness. And RSS is infiltrating in many of the mass organizations. There are BMS union, they will not join there, they will join in our union. In many industries we are now facing this problem. They joined our union. They work very sincerely as a union activist. They come as a committee member or representative of their particular shop. They argue their politics in the committee meeting. We have to democratically handle and still managing to union, keep with us, make that union rally in all the strike action, and while opposing the strike, they will join the strike also, these guys, political. Because they are working with a political mission. Whether you are conscious about those missionary workers within your organization, trying to derail the movement from the class understanding, I think we should be very cautious and real. And your AIBA, the biggest union you are talking about, they are also not free from such infections. Many of our unions are not free from such infections, even also in the middle class segment. We hear from the leaders of the All India movement in other middle class segment, they are telling, Comrade, this problem is there, we have to handle it. Till now we keep the movement on track, but the problem is there, Comrade. I think that point you need to take more importance in your organization, this infiltration. The overall concept, overall class orientation has to be maintained, and we must work in that direction. And for that, a bigger left unity also no less important. I know the kind of irritation or sensitivity about that. But we can't help. So we have to take that in note. We cannot ignore them. Till now as a major force. May not be this strike, but next strike we will require them. But at the same time, we must be cautious about the attack on mind. And at the same time, we must continuously ask, why should they continue to remain a bigger organization than us? What is our percentage presence? And what we should do to improve upon that? At the same time, we must address this problem with all seriousness. हिंदी में क्वेश्चन आया, अच्छा आरएसएस, लेकिन सवाल का अंत ठीक नहीं है. RSS, in different measures, they are trying to strengthen themselves. Yes, naturally. You have a liberty to strengthen yourself also using your ideology. If according to you they are succeeding, the question comes, our failure, what is its root? The seriousness with which they are pursuing, we are not pursuing. Should we not ask ourselves this question? It's an organization, particularly in those areas. मजदूर वर्ग को जुझारू संघर्ष करना है, definitely, we are 100% करेंगे. Only by aggressively fighting a class battle, this alien force can be fought out. Because ultimately class battle boils down to the issue of your stomach and belly, your survival. If the policy measures are proved to be inimical to human survival, if that consciousness we can bring in the people's mind, these forces will win away, bhag jayega. So our focus should be on that. Definitely you are correct. But at the same time you are telling, बिना सत्ता प्राप्ति से मजदूर वर्ग को, पक्ष को नीतियां हम कैसे बना सकेंगे? गलत सवाल है. Getting into the power, सत्ता प्राप्ति आसमान से टपकता नहीं है. दूसरा कोई पार्टी आपको 2 सीट फाइट करने के लिए दिया, उसी से सत्ता नहीं मिलता है. सत्ता प्राप्ति का जमीन बनाना पड़ता है. और रेड फ्लैग जहां जहां सत्ता प्राप्ति किया, इवन एट द स्टेट लेवल, व्हाट इज देयर हिस्ट्री? इट इज अ बिटर स्ट्रगल विदाउट थिंकिंग अबाउट द सत्ता. इन केरला, इन बंगाल, also in Tripura. There was a bitter struggle, they didn't bother about the satta. They fought for people's people's right. And that bitter struggle will brought them to ultimately political power in those states. Red flag can never electoral gain by only electoral manipulation. It is a bloody class battle that brings them to power. So वही रास्ता है हमारे सामने. बिना सत्ता प्राप्ति से मजदूर का पक्ष का नीतियां अगर सत्ता प्राप्ति करके आपको करना है तो राम राम, वो कभी नहीं होगा. लड़ते हुए सत्ता प्राप्ति होगा तभी जाके नीतियां आप लागू कर सकता है. और टुडे वी आर कैंपेनिंग थ्रू आउट द कंट्री ए ऑल्टरनेटिव पॉलिसी स्ट्रक्चर citing the steps being taken by LDF government at Kerala. Citing it. But the point is that they got the power not out of only their electoral exercise. There is a long history of bitter struggle right from the pre-independence day. And in 1959, first ever red flag government came there. It is a record in our country. But that was believed to this bitter struggle. And thereafter, whenever they came, you will see that was preceded by a bitter struggle which they are continuing. No, comrade, there is fact also that right-wing press, they are penetrate in all the system. Yes. That's why the media is being funded by them and all corporates are the owner of the media. Nowadays, regular report is coming up. Somebody is giving BJP 350 seats, somebody 400 seats also. They want to create a make-believe atmosphere. But the battle is not that easy. With that confidence, if we don't work, then nothing is possible. And I think there is ground to work with all that confidence. Number one. Number two, they are creating deviation in the class, and such as had been deviated from our struggle of the main issues, such as system employment, unemployment, and other underemployment. What are the initiations have to be taken? Yes. You see, comrade, it is not because of the press alone. These issues have been taken up by the trade union movement. Again and again we are taking, these has to be taken up by the trade union movement as a whole. And that's why the slogan is coined, said the people, said the notion. Point is that in our day-to-day battle, how much we are establishing link with the people and flagging these issues as an issue. Joint trade union movement, unemployment is one of the major issues we are campaigning. Point is that as an integral part of the joint campaign, to what extent we could carry that campaign at the grassroots level. That is a deviation. That cannot be done by social media alone. Man-to-man marking is still now very important. And that's why CITU has coined that slogan, reach the unreached. Link the issues being faced by the people with the policy regime. And expose the politics behind that policy. And whenever say expose behind the politics behind the policy, it is not only Modi's policy, it is the policy of all bourgeois political formation. Politics of the against the policy need to be exposed so that people can identify their real enemy. Without that, you cannot turn Modi as a real enemy because he is worst among the worst political elements. That is precisely the task before us. So that issue has to be taken, and on that we are again and again giving a call. Problem is that in our trade union functioning day to day, to what extent we can raise ourselves, and that is precisely the task of you leaders among the bank employees. Link it with the other social and political issues, your own demand. There it should not end. And you have to expand. And for a service sector like you, it is easier to link with the people. Provided you can take a program of linking with the people, linking to their interest, linking to the service bank used to render before the people, that service is gradually evaporating, man-to-man direction, connection. You have to link it and also talk about their own issues. In an advanced trade union movement, they have to reorient their work in that direction. Automation and artificial intelligence, one question is there, I think already I have answered. Question is that automation always kills the job. Technology definitely kills the job. But you put it some other way. Technology helps reducing the workload. When it is in the control of the people, it will help reducing my workload. It will increase my hours of recess and rest. And it will free my mind to join in or devote in other creative work if it remains not in the hand of exploiter for the taste. Fidel Castro told that given the productive capacity of the entire globe, people can be people can be fed idly without any work for years together. That is the strength. But it is in the hand of the ruling class, exploiting class, it can create a menace. We have to differentiate and always link with the system. We cannot oppose application of technology in work because it takes the difference efficiency. But at the same time, if we say that application of technology must be accompanied by expansion of your service network, then the employment that has been dislodged can be made up. Today, what is the banking coverage of the India, a country like India? What is the coverage of bank service? Reaching all the villages. They have, your merger, they have reduced the number of bank branches. That is by coverage. You are already utilizing that in your campaign. At the same time, at bank level linkage, they are now making that correspondence. To make the correspondence run here, out. And if a particular villager has to come to bank for any service or raising your money, everywhere your ATM services are not there. They have to come all the way to the district headquarters or the subdivision headquarters for banking service. So I am telling you the same thing is expanded. The technology will help making the service better and also expand better service to the people. It depends on in whose hand technology is there. Again, the class question comes. Comrade, it's quite, there will be people who cannot have a straight jacket. They are with the movement, जो दिया जलाया है, राम मंदिर का समय. Those who have lit and light in their house, all are not BJP comrades. I told you, 17 states, 140,000 people participated in the tractor and vehicle parade, shouting slogan against Modi. Many of them have lit a lighted diya during the Ramjan movement, and that too in the Hindi belt. Major area is Hindi belt. It has happened. So this is there. What is your political position? That faith is yours, but don't mingle it with politics. And second round is develop his orientation towards scientific understanding. The first thing is that faith is yours. Privately practice, no doubt. But don't mix it in religion, that's a crime. Then the religion loses its religious character the moment you utilize it for your political gain. That's a crime. We should not hesitate in taking. But faith is yours. We all respect all faith. At the next subsequent stage of movement through the process, you have to develop in a selective manner, developing the scientific thinking in humankind. Then you will decide whether they will be governed by the faith or governed by scientific understanding. How people come into being, after death where people goes, or at all goes there anywhere. Whether there will be Atma or Paramatma is a fact. These all questions can be gradually answered through a cultivation of scientific temperament among the minds of the people, and that to be done patiently in a systematic manner. And I think that's an important part where our science movement is playing a role, but again, by science movement platform cannot cover a whole. It is class conscious trade union movement has to take out the baton to develop scientific temperaments among the minds of their own constituency in a phased manner. By one jump you cannot attain the roof. But it starts with don't mix religion in politics. Religion ceases to be a religion once it is utilized for political gain. Thank you. I think everything I could cover.
This session is started at 11:40. Now it is 2:05. At about 1:10, deliberation was over. At that time, when I told you that the questions can be the written form, only one query was there from Sajeev. And after that only, after some time only, other people, other comrades began to give queries regarding this subject. But now you might have heard, it took around 45 minutes for him to answer all these things. Anyhow, many questions were there. Even some questions were raised for other sessions, which was meant for other sessions, that was also raised here. And everything was answered by Comrade Tapan Sen. One comrade was telling about our AIBA leadership also. I'm not saying anything about that, but only one thing is there. The backside, the quoting of EMS is there. What he has written in People's Democracy, that quoting regarding our challenges, bargaining. Our collective bargaining, what EMS has quoted in the People's Democracy is written there in the back. You can go through that. But as far as the trade union is concerned, what are the three phases a trade union is to have? And everything has been, that important points it is there. What I want to say is, anyhow, all the as already mentioned by Comrade Tapan Sen, in a small span of time, this subject cannot be covered fully. Anyhow, we have started a challenge like that. Anyhow, this session, now it is over.